Hello and welcome. It is, of course, Miscellaneous Friday. Well, sort of. You know the drill. It is Solo Sunday, though, as we are going to roll the dice with our character, Juliana Aldis. So, without further ado, as we are ever so slightly late, let us begin. Now, of course... Oh, it's the last day of the month. It's the 28th. Well, you know, our time works different than yours. Anyway, different amount of days in a month and all that. It's just I lost track of time, I suppose. Let's see. So, on the screen, you likely see the overview of the war zone. I suppose I should explain. We haven't missed anything if the view's different. It's from World Building Wednesday. We were working on the map on World Building Wednesday, so I suppose I'll just quickly cover that in case you don't watch World Building Wednesday. Of course, we're not going to world build here, but I just want to quickly explain why you see what you see and why, because it's relevant, I suppose. So, on World Building Wednesday, we worked on the overview of where we are. For instance, this is the city that Juliana Aldis is in, where everything's taking place. Before, in our previous bits of the campaign, we were down here. For those of you who watch World Building Wednesday, you see a few more units. I was arranging the roughly correct amount of units around and their types, which I suppose we could have saved for World Building Wednesday, but I didn't. You know, mechanized infantry, armored infantry, support, artillery, and the whole lot. Anyway, so that's what this is, for those of you who don't watch World Building Wednesday. This is just the overview of the location. For those of you also, I suppose I'll quickly cover what it doesn't, well, not what it doesn't, what it does mean. Here we see city. Over here, another city. Smaller city here and here. The border between the two factions. A river running down from the mountains. A little lake. The river splitting off from the lake, heading down. Another city down here. Forests and rough forest. Swamp and rough forest. That's basically what you're seeing here. Of course, it's not done. We could always add more detail and so forth, but just a rough overview of where things are, basically. It is every one of these, if I recall correctly, is 10 kilometers. So for scale purposes, if you wanted to know, each one of these sub-squares is 10 kilometers, and each larger square is 100 kilometers. And then here it's 100 kilometers and 1,000 kilometers, but that's not important. Basically just an overview of the world, well, a part of it, where we are, the little section we're in of about 300 kilometers by 300 kilometers. Of course, we could add more map up here. Anyway, that's World Building Wednesday talk. Let's get to the actual tabletop RPG. I suppose this is, you know, a part of it, but you know what I mean. The dice rolling. I am, of course, a little unprepared. As I arrived late, I was working on military structuring. Amount of units in a Galactic Standard Battalion, etc., etc. Not really the amount of units, more so the makeup of units, as opposed to the amount in a battalion in Galactic... Words are hard. A battalion in the Galactic Standard System has roughly 1,000 troops in it. So, like, we have the numbers, we're just trying to arrange, you know, unit makeup inside of that, you know, how many armored vehicles, how many of this, how many of that, for the Galactic Standard variant. Of course, I'm not sure if it's visible. We don't have it, unfortunately, but we already have we have a list of the makeup of an Imperial battalion somewhere, but we don't have a standard battalion. Also, I found my nation sheet that we're talking about on World Building Wednesday. So I now have the sheet for my nation. It was, annoyingly, just in a completely random file, which is why I couldn't find it. Yeah, well. Now over to the gameplay. Assuming I clicked the right map. I did, good. We were in a car chase. Well, they were chasing our hoverbike, more so. We just finished their turn, as I recall, because I very much wanted to finish their turn before we ended, so we finished theirs. Which brings it back around to ours. We are, of course, we got in a bit of a fight up here with the local gang, escaped on our bike, got chased by them in a car, a squad of them in a car. And so we are sort of engaging them. Well, we're evading them as opposed to engaging them. Also, I did go over and check the vehicle rules. Hopefully I remember them. I mean, literally shortly after our session, I checked them, so it was about a week ago, but you know. As I said during then, I'm constantly trying to update rules and all that. And so, like, vehicles have always been a bit of a problem. So we'll try the updated rules. I mean, that's one of the reasons I converted Galactic Requiem into a solo. I mean, I say solo, but like, I run it with people all the time. But I converted it to a solo variant, basically, that uses all the same rules and everything. But the reason being, one of the reasons, because I wanted to play the game. Another reason, because theoretically, me and the players sometimes play with no GM. It works out. It's real fun. And third, I can test. So yeah, since it was one of the primary reasons it was invented was to test things, we might as well test the updated vehicle rules, you know? Which is basically vehicles get a save, basically, to see whether they take damage. And of course, the amount of damage done to them does affect that. So it's not like, how do I put this? Rules wise, there's a chance. I think it's a relatively good chance. I haven't done the math on it, but there's a relatively good chance that the vehicle will just ignore damage from, say, pistol fire above its DR. I mean, forgetting DR, just it's likely the round's not going to hit something important because it's so light and so forth. Heavier weapons have a higher chance of penetrating. For instance, there's almost, I say almost no, there's no statistical chance for the car to successfully save and negate damage from a tank round, basically. But from like small arms fire, the car is likely going to ignore the damage and so forth. Anyway, we'll test the system as we go. But it's our turn. We're so close. What speed were we moving? We're moving not the highest speed category, as I recall. I have to bring up my files. Like I said, slightly unprepared. As I said, also, I'm slightly unprepared because I was distracted working on military organization stuff, which I do quite enjoy. 75? Hmm. That's not right. Oh. Hmm? Sorry, my brain is not working. Okay, okay. Good. 75 squares on the 50 movement grid. Not 75 squares, 15 squares, which translates to a reading of 75. That's what was confusing me. 15 squares, which translates to basically the thing saying 75, like so. Hopefully that's visible. Anyway, yeah, that's what the confusion was. We will continue at this speed just so we don't have to make checks, which is risky. Because it's risky not because, I mean, we're not making checks, which mitigates risk. It's risky because the enemy can follow us without having to make checks. So, I mean, we're so close to home base. I'm guessing it's going to take 2 to 3 turns. Okay, I suppose we can survive that long. First turn. We'll continue on our way. We will, we will, let me double check, make sure this is correct. Drive defensively, yeah. If only we had skills and upgrades. There's a feat for vehicles that would let me add dexterity to operating it. Luckily, unlike normal, like we've been over before, unlike normal tabletop RPGs, we can just buy or train the feat. So it's not like, oh no, there's a feat for that. It's more so just train the feat. It takes very little time. I believe that feat would take like 28 days to train because it's technically a physical feat. 28 days to train, yeah. So it's like, you know, relatively easy. I think unless there's prerequisites, if there's a prerequisite, it would take longer. But, you know, you could always buy the training or hire somebody to train you and train faster. You know, all sorts of stuff like that. Anyway, drive defensively is not a feat-based thing, though. I'm just trying to find the modifier so I don't, you know, get it wrong. Total defense, actually. +4 dodge bonus does not allow the driver to attack. I mean, we could shoot at them, but I'm not. No. We technically didn't kill anybody, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think we killed anybody, so we're not going to. In our previous engagement, I remember we shot somebody in the leg severely. I mean, they might bleed to death, but they're at their base, so that's unlikely. Like, they'll probably get it fixed. We do live in a, you know, future-based technology stuff and all that. So they'll likely be fine. But, you know, if we can avoid angering the gang, that'd be best. So let's move on 75 with a drive defensively. Full defense, actually. Okay, that means they will follow. They're not going to try and speed up. They'll take the penalty. So they are going to make an attack with a -2. As the car turns the corner, both cars moving at a reasonable, well, at a relatively high speed. Let's actually see. I'm curious now. Yeah, we're going at like 85 miles per hour. So at a relatively high speed, both cars turn, zipping through, mostly avoiding the sparse traffic in the area. We'll have a bit of fun. As we pass over the train tracks, is there anything train-related going on? Is our question to the bot. We'll say 50-50. Why not, for fun? Even though it should be -2 or -4, we'll say 50-50. 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 means once more, my apologies for my unprepared nature. 9 is no. 9 is no because. So, well, yeah, throw in a little wrench. No, there's no train-related activity because there is... Well, not because, we'll say but. But there's a lot of car traffic, so we will have to make a save. You know what? We're not going to do that. I mean, we're going to do that, but we're not going to do that. And by that, I mean, we're not going to make the save. Not we're going to purposely fail the save, mind you. We are going to use the thing that's the reason why we spent 100 or so, maybe 80 it was, because we might have bought used. But the reason we didn't spend 20,000 credits on a motorcycle, the reason we spent so much more on a hover bike, we are going to hover. I know we're in a tunnel, but theoretically we should be able to pass above the cars. We will hover above the cars moving across. The enemies will have to make a save. I mean, we technically also have to make a save, but it's going to be far lower. As long as we don't roll a 1, really. Okay, not ideal. Not ideal. 4, what's our dex? We literally just have to beat 10. What's on dex? So, moving towards the somewhat congested area of the train tracks with the cars moving across it, we will try and raise our vehicle above the blockage instead of having to turn south, basically. Not really turn south. South would be the train instead of basically having to slow. Let's see. So, our dex is, assuming I, figure out how things work. 5, 6, 7, 8. And we can technically get a +2. Unfortunately, the datanet won't help us with it, but our AI can, which barely gets us to 10. I really, really have to remember to use AIs more, honestly. I have a tendency of forgetting that they help. Let's see. 4, 8, 10. So we barely make it over, skimming the top of the stopped cars. Skimming the top of the stopped cars, we scrape by. Will they try and get through the other lane and gap before the train comes by? For that, we roll our enemies. Check. They need to achieve a 15. Because they can't just hover above. They have to actually try and squeeze through. 17. they make it. They basically, as they're heading across, make a... Well, I suppose that would slow them slightly. Let's actually do the math on that. We go there. They can move 75. If the cars in front of them are stopped, they will have to go like that. That's basically what they're doing. They're going into the opposite lane and then back into this lane. So it does get us 1 square difference. It looks like, yeah. Maybe? Let's check. Yeah, it gets us 1 square, as they basically have to swerve to not hit the stopped cars, go around where the stopped cars would be, and then swerve back into to avoid the oncoming traffic. We get 1 square on them. They will, however, try to fire. Unfortunately, still only a -2. Well, with an additional -4. An additional -2 for speed. 18, -2, -4, -2. Drops it to 10. Unfortunately, +5. Because burst to hit. Assuming I can open the right sheet again. Which gets their total, by the way, to 15. I'm having a real hard time finding files today. Here we are. Our vehicle's AC should be 9, I think. Yeah, 9 plus 4. It is 4, right? Yes. 13 is not enough. They are able to get a hit. So now we roll damage. I have made 1 mistake. I must admit, it has been a week and I didn't take thorough notes. I don't entirely remember what weapon they had. I will assume it's an assault rifle. Otherwise, I mean, if it was an SMG, they'd be taking additional -2 for range, perhaps even a -4 for range, technically speaking. And they'd be doing 2d6. Honestly, I think it might have been an SMG. I'm not gonna lie. I think it might have been an SMG. We'll split the difference and roll 2d8. My apologies for the discontinuity there. I believe that's the correct term. I apparently entirely forgot to note down the stats of these gangsters. Well, I mean, I have their stats. It's not their stats I don't know, it's their equipment. But like I said, we'll split the difference and roll 2d8. 9. 9. Now we make a vehicle save. Let me make sure I get this right at the very least. Assuming that doesn't lag out. That would be annoying. Here we are. Luckily, I have another variant. Not really a different variant, basically a different file that contains the same data. Here we are. Half the damage. Oh. Forgot one bit. Assuming this one loads. Luckily, I have another variant of this file right here. Here we are. So, with a burst, we are looking at +2 damage. So 11 divided by 2. 5.5. So 6, I believe. We'll round up. Oh no, actually, we will round down. I'm looking back at the sheet. It literally says half the damage suffered rounded down. So 5. Okay, so we need to beat 15. And we are rolling, interestingly enough, a d20 plus 5. Because our vehicle's DR is 5. Okay, so d20. 5 plus 5 is 10. We do not succeed the damage save. We take the damage. So we will be taking 6 damage to our vehicle. If that was an SMG and only doing 2d6, maybe we might have taken no damage. Okay, let's see. It definitely would have increased our chances of taking no damage. Here we are. So that's going to be 6 damage. Let's see. Oh, let's take it to a pot. Why not? That is a free thing I'm pretty sure we can do. Yep. We just need to roll on the pot's table. Nope. Wrong file. I mean, nothing I said there was wrong, per se. It's just I went to the wrong file that didn't have the data. I was looking for. That should be in the GM book. Here we are. Okay, roll a d20. So let's go to our dice roller. 20. Okay. I mean, that's not bad, as far as I know, immediately without doing the check. That means we are hit. Oh. What are the rules for that? Okay, no, we're technically fine for now. So that hits the crew compartment, by the way. Luckily, the crew compartment of this vehicle is not open. Technically, it's not an open top vehicle. So we don't immediately take the damage. Or theoretically, like half the damage and so forth. What happens is we do take Sorry, my files are a bit of a mess right now. Half the damage to the part, half the damage to vehicle. Damage to the part rounded up, damage to the vehicle rounded down. And as it's the 6, it is a flat 3 damage to the vehicle and 3 damage to the part. Let's see. Here we are. Drop our bike to 15 HP. And we'll make a quick note. Three damage to crew compartment. By the way, if that gets damaged, like there are effects specifically, I can quickly find them right here. Crew compartment. This attack hits the vehicle's crew compartment. If this is damaged, no, I'm wrong. Okay, so I got one little bit of data wrong there. It does hit us, technically, because it does penetrate. It completely penetrates, so it does hit us. Luckily, that is going to be 3 points. And our internal armor, and by internal armor I mean the combat armor we wear, just absolutely ignores it. If this crew compartment gets destroyed, what happens is we take a -2 to all checks, basically. Luckily, it's not destroyed, because it should have. Let's do the math real fast. 25 HP divided by, no, sorry, times 2. It is 25 HP, right? Yes, 25 HP times 2 is 50. Divided by, so I don't lose where I was. 5. 10. So we've taken 3 out of 10. So we're at 7 out of 10 HP on our crew compartment. My apologies. I will be right back. I need to grab something and we will get back to it, hopefully with a bit less distraction. I'll be right back. We return. Here we are. So where were we? Ah, yes. So yeah, 3 damage to the pot. So that's fine for now. I mean, what are the chances they'll hit the same pot twice? 1 in 6. Also, 1 in 6. I believe. I mean, we might as well check. I mean, yeah, 1 in 6. Of course, there's a weight to it. So it's not like entirely 1 in 6. There are 6 different theoretical hit locations, but they are weighted, so certain parts of a vehicle are easier to hit than others. It's harder to, yeah, you get the point. But it does give you the chance to take less damage. However, as has been seen in Galactic Requiem before, I'm not sure it's happened here, but it's happened in Galactic Requiem with players in a case where they will save, well, they will take it to a pot. They'll be like, wow, that will, because taking damage to a pot, theoretically, depending on what pot it is, can ignore, if a pot's destroyed, the damage doesn't roll over. If the pot is hit again, I believe it reverts to either roll again or hit the chassis. But basically, you can have a pot destroyed by a strong hit and theoretically have the rest of the vehicle be fine. Well, somewhat, with penalties. And so it's happened before that, say, a player flying a jet, starfighter specifically, will take a hit, and it will be to the wing from, say, a heavy anti-aircraft missile. Then all of a sudden, the wing of the vehicle's gone. And if you're wondering, like, well, how would you just survived a heavy, of course it doesn't work if the area caught in it is like a blast, in which case, if the blast hits the chassis, there's a chance that it just damages anyway and so forth. But in short, they took a hit to the wing. The wing of the vehicle was immediately destroyed. Saved the rest of the vehicle, but the wing was destroyed. The vehicle then, however, well, A, takes a penalty to everything. Like, because it's an aircraft in air with no longer having a wing. I mean, that's a bit of a problem. So, it begins tumbling out of control. Pilot's like, well, I have to recover this in some way. Succeeds, keeps it flying. Unfortunately, it's going to fall out of the sky, hits the ground, bounces, succeeds another check, keeps it flying. It barely holds together, hits the ground, like loses another part, loses its engine as it slams the rear of the aircraft into the ground, continues barely flying on momentum, is definitely going to crash and just, like, ejects the last minute. It was good time. Like, the way pots can be destroyed adds so much fun. Like, sometimes it adds a little bit of ridiculousness at times, but it adds so much fun because, like, the wing's been blown off and the pilot's trying to hold the aircraft together in the air as it moves at high speed across the battlefield. Like, good things happen. And it theoretically, like the most it does, like, if we're being technical, on a statistical anomaly. No, that's not true. No, that is technically true. On a statistical anomaly, if you were to have more than it, basically at most, like, at most, if you rolled every pot, it would each one is, so yeah, like a fifth. you theoretically could take 5 hits you wouldn't normally be able to take, I believe, if my math is right. But like, as stated, every thing hit has penalties that don't necessarily mean you'll live. Like, you could also have your vehicle theoretically destroyed. Like, theoretically, your vehicle could it has technically double health. Like technically double health, but any one part can only take a fifth and so forth. So theoretically, you could take 5 hits. Theoretically. But that's also, like not likely. The reason that's not likely is likely eventually they're going to hit the torso repeatedly. And all, congratulations, you're in an aircraft. You now have an engine hit, and unluckily for you, there are no thrusters available. It looks like you are immediately going to either have to glide down, like your vehicle can be disabled in. Each one has a fifth, so it's like, I have to do the math, but like, as you see that 10 out of 20, 10 out of 25. I'm not the best at the math right now. My neural data pad is not working. Dimensional device causes interference and all that. So I can't really automatically do the math. But, it's slightly less than half. But you get my point. Like, theoretically, the vehicle could be disabled with only 10 damage to it, as opposed to having to take 25 damage. But also, theoretically, the vehicle could take 50 damage before it's disabled. Theoretically. Of course, with increasing penalty to the penalties of the parts being lost, like wheels give you a maneuver penalty, and let's say you're moving at high speed, you need to save or spin out because your wheel was destroyed and so forth. So there's a bit of a balance to it, but theoretically could destroy this vehicle with 25 HP by only dealing 10 HP, well, disable it, more so than absolutely destroy it, or it could do 50 damage to it and before it's out of the fight, technically speaking. Like, there's a balance to it. Anyway, so 3 damage to the car, 3 damage to the pot. And that's their turn. Which brings it back to our turn. I think I underestimated. I think it might still be 3 turns to get there. I didn't measure it, so I'm not entirely sure. Let's see. We will call for help. We will call our mercenary allies and say, yo, being chased, need some backup. Just head right out there, right out the garage door. Basically transmit to that. Well, we're able to basically transmit that instantly, by the way. Juliana Aldis has a neural data pad. Doesn't have to pop up and make a phone call, spend time saying that in the middle of the fight. No, just instantly transmit that via the neural data pad, which is the use of a neural data pad. Also, you can do some really good tactical stuff with the neural data pad. Anyway, yeah, we'll continue moving down the street at this speed. Because next turn we turn the corner. Our allies should be. Let's actually double check this. Wrong map. It's this one, yes. Let's say there is an emergency. They should be able to get there in 2, and we sent it there, and we should be there by 2. So, luckily, we should have our allies here to help. Well, he'll stay and gone. But we should have our allies here to help in 2 turns. Along with a number of gangsters. So, that's ideal. We'll put them back there because we're not going to go to this map, I don't think. If we do need to, we will, but... Okay, we're continuing full defense. They will continue chasing. Make sure we did that right. 75, there we are. And they will try and fire again. Honestly, at this point, Juliana Aldous is going... Juliana Aldous is currently feeling upset at the damage to her rather expensive hoverbike. I mean, it's not going to be a lot to fix it. We can probably even get it fixed for free. And they haven't destroyed it yet. But Juliana Aldous does not like when her hoverbike gets shot at. So, you know, she really wants to kill them at this point. But she'll wait. Okay. They will try and fire. Same as before. They definitely hit with a 19. $11 plus what was it? Luckily I have the thing here. 2. 11 plus 2. 13. Rounds rip out of the gun as they tear towards our car. We need to save for 6. 1d20 plus 5 versus 6. Come on, please. Unfortunate. So we take the damage. And we will be taking 8 damage. We will try and take it to a pot. And by try, I mean, you know, there's theoretically a chance it hits the chassis on the roll thing, but let's see. I suppose I'll roll it here, but even though it's slightly more annoying to do. 8. Here we are. Mm-hmm. We don't really have equipment listed, so we roll again. And again. 1. Okay. Front thruster. 4 damage to the front thruster. Okay, let's apply that as soon as I, you know, open the right book. Interact, here we go. 6 out of 10 to the front thruster. Not ideal. And 4 damage to the car. Bringing it down to 11. So, unfortunately, fortunately, that's slowly chipping away at the vehicle. Okay. It is... I'll move. No longer defensively driving. No more of that. We have arrived. Let me do a quick check. Want to make sure I'm doing this right. So we need to make a DC 15. We're going to try and hard brake the vehicle, which I hope works. We're not so far having the best of luck on our end with the dice rolls. Please, please roll 11 plus. I beg of you. Pain. Pain. Okay. So we've just failed a stunt. We need to make the exact same check to regain control of the vehicle. We'll retain control of the vehicle. Also, we're only dropping 1 speed category, as opposed to up to 3. So come on, please. Yes. 17 plus 4 is more than 15. We do not lose control of the vehicle, but we do fail the stunt. So we are slowing to only 5 squares. Well, technically we can move more if you want me to be technical. Let me double check the rules on that. No, we can only move 5 if we slow down. But yeah, we'll slow down. Okay, so we'll slow to there. We're not fighting defensively. So what we will do is pop up out of the closed bit of the bike. And, yeah, we'll pop up out of the closed bit of the bike. And we will declare, and make sure this is allowed. No, we can't because we already moved. Shit. Yeah, so we can't declare that. What we will do is wait. Yeah. Ready our gun and so forth. Our allies should be out here, meaning they can get to here. Might as well put a mark down for that. Unfortunately, I don't have any images open, which is slightly annoying. Give me half a second. Just for ease of doing this, we'll just put that down. That way I don't need to pull through the files. I need to make some more of these, by the way. These ones I made for a long time ago for a quick space engagement campaign. They're not the best, but they work. Basically, these ones have different colors, of course, representing different unit types, but we have carriers, corvettes, cruiser, fighter, bomber, just for quick use. And of course, we also have, it is visible, I don't have a thing open, right? I suppose it's slightly behind that bit, but that's fine. We also got blue ones, red ones, just for each one, of course, different, slightly different shape for knowing different things about each thing and all that. Just for, like, fleet-based stuff. But I also have a little unit one for undesignated units and all that, but mostly for, I mean, like, as you saw earlier, for ground battles, it's rather easier because we have little things that can represent ground battle things far easier. Like, where was it? Not the sector map. Like these, see? So much easier. Of course, we can generate ones with the symbols on the inside and all that if needed, but that takes, it's a lot of work. I say generate, like this little generator that you can make them with, and it takes a minute to generate one. So it's annoying to go, so battalion scale, tank unit, like just all the way down. Infantry unit, mobile mechanized infantry, light infantry, making one for each type and all that. But they don't really have space fleet ones. So, or do they? I suppose you could just mark them with. Can you? I'm not going to bother checking right now, but I'm thinking, don't they do have like, they have air, because, old tech level 10 Elysia has air forces, but I think they have like space. I think. And I suppose, I'm not sure how the generator works entirely, but I might be able to combine space and naval unit if it lets me. I'm not sure, but that way I could theoretically do it, combine space and aircraft, and then combine space and corvette, frigate, destroyer, etc. So maybe. Haven't really checked because, like, it wasn't standard, like, Anyway. That brings it to the enemy's turns, doesn't it? Oh. What do they have to do? They have to move a minimum of 6 squares. So they can stop here, and they likely will. So the car turning the corner sees the bike there, and the car, of course, slows down. It also sees a couple of people and some gangsters in the street. They also do see the assault rifle leveled at the windshield of their car. How will they react? That, I suppose, is a question for the bot. Specifically, the complex one. For that, I have to find it. Unfortunately, we had a bit of a technical error. And a lot of our files, they weren't lost or anything, but they're not open and arranged the way I want them to be, which makes finding things slightly annoying. Okay, so we have an opponent. And the situation is combat. Opponent in combat. Their reaction is going to be, I mean, they're no longer in their territory. There's several people. There's 2 of them and several people with weapons here. So it's going to be relatively easy, I believe. So we'll use this part of the chart. After all, they don't want to die and all that. Let's roll. 2. That's a failure. Now we need to roll their reaction. That's a failure on our part, by the way, not on theirs. So a failed result of this is going to be rolled here. Grab my D100. Well, they sure are brave. Our goal was to hope that they would leave. Their action is, no, they're intent on this. They might not be in a minute, like they might change their minds, but they do want to continue to engage. So says the bot and the chart, so be it. They will let off a burst to hit. They're not shooting at the vehicle at this point because they're going to try and hit Yulana Aldous herself. 8. 13. 11. 9. They do not succeed. The burst hits around, but turning the corner at high speed and immediately slowing, the gunner misses and his rounds basically just hit the side of the building and a bit of the ground. As they have fired, that goes to our turn. You then all this will burst. What distance are they at? 100, no penalty. You then all this will burst to damage. 20 rounds. The driver. Not the driver, the gunner. The guy who keeps shooting my bike. Okay, so we're going to roll the d20. 9. No penalty for range. -1 from speed. So 8 plus. Here we are. 8 plus 9 plus. Looking for our burst chart. Here we are. 8 plus 9 plus bursted damage of 20 rounds. 3. Which is 20, which is a hit. 4, 2d10 plus 5 damage. Which gives us 21 damage. Let's quickly, very quickly, pop over to the NPC book. Because I don't think he survives. I don't think he even gets to save or die. Well, technically he gets to save or die, but it might not matter, you know? Here we are. Yeah, he has 17 health. And he has a con of 11. "21 is 1 away from doubling his con. He would have taken 4 critical wounds. Instead, he takes like 3, technically, instead of 4. And he's at -4. Yeah, no, he's just basically dead. I mean, we'll let him roll to not instantly, permanently die, I guess. He does not technically succeed with an 11. He's dead. He's absolutely dead. One of them, the gunner next to the driver, several, like, almost all 20 rounds rip straight through the windshield into his torso and upper body, possibly even into his face. And he's just gone. Like, theoretically, if they get him to a doctor in what? He has 17 HP. I don't think he's making it. Like, at all. I don't think a doctor can help him. He'd have to get to a doctor in, like, 1 minute in 16 seconds. He would have to get to a doctor in 1 minute and 16 seconds. I mean, he's already, like, basically dead, but, like, it's not really working out for him. So, with our other half action, well, let's actually make sure we can. Actually, even if we couldn't, we could. Reason being, I was gonna say, let's check if we can because of number of rounds in the gun. But we have quick reload, so even if we had like not enough rounds, we just quick reload. Let's see. Yep, that drops us to 20 out of 40. We don't even need to quick reload. We will let out a burst into the driver. This one's going to be at a -5 to hit. 20 round burst. We're going to burst to hit this time instead of burst to damage because we're taking a -5 for our second shot. Here we go. 13. 13 minus 5 plus 9 minus 1 plus burst to hit, which is going to be 6 because we have the feat, which is 22, which hits. Really? Sorry, it just seems weird to me. 13 minus 5 plus 9 minus 1 plus 6. No, yeah, we did the math right. We let out a 20 round burst into the driver. Even with the penalty. The only other thing to check is how much damage. I mean, I wanted to avoid killing them, honestly, but they don't seem to want to not die. 3 damage for the burst to hit is added, not total. We're going to roll, but it's 2d10 plus 3, not 5. 12. Not the worst, not the best, a bit below average, 12. So that means he does need to save a die, I believe. Yes, his con is 11. So, nine plus 1, 10. He's short by 1. So, he's going to do a trick. He is going to do a trick. Normally, by the way, so I'll explain what I mean by that. Normally, if you exceed your con and all that, so if assuming this loads, it really hates working sometimes. Anyway, we'll just do the other variant. So, as I was saying, you could spend where is it? 2 action die to convert a failed massive damage save into a critical wound. He can, instead, as he failed by literally 1 point, just use 1 action die roll a d4, 4, it actually explodes, 6. So he adds 6 to his roll. No, I did that wrong. He's not trying to beat 11, he's trying to beat 15. Which he still beats with a total of 17 now. Almost did the math right. I mean, math wrong. But no, still, because the die explodes, he only spends 1 action die. And only takes 12 damage. Out of 17. He does take critical wounds. Let's see. Where is that? Yeah, well. So yeah, he does take 2 wounds. And if he is going to take 2 wounds, can he ignore them? For 3 action die. For 3 action die. How many does he have? He just spent 1 and he has 1 left, so no. I do, on occasion, consider making it a little easier to save with action die against critical wounds and stuff, rules-wise, and massive damage and all that. It usually just works. I mean, it works here too, but I mean, from like a balance perspective, it usually just works, like the way it is. But then again, usually players are a little bit higher level. Players start at level 4, usually, honestly. I know, like, many people are like, well, you start at level 1. I'm very much for starting players at level 4. I think I might have been over this before, but basically, starting at level 4 in this system of Galactic Requiem basically lets you figure out what you want your character to be and be different in a large degree from other players in your group. Like, you need 3 levels of a base class, and then you can go into an advanced class if you want. So 4 levels at start is like, here's your 3 base levels and your specialization. So with your 3 base levels, you can get a few talents and feats that already start specializing. Then you have a choice to basically take an additional, your 4th level in an advanced class and be like, so here's what I'm going to specialize in. It basically gets you a bit more of a diverse build in what you want to do. It already basically gets you a more feeling of, yes, this is my build, you know? While starting at level 1 sort of lacks that. Level 4 is just the average of the average, so it just works out. And then, of course, players then level up from there to all the way up. But I just think like it's a good place to start them. Because they get their build going. And then, yeah. And at level 4, you usually have 2 action die. Unless we're in a heavily action-intense variant, which is a thing you can just throw down, which basically doubles the capacity to 4. And so from there, like, 4 action die basically means if you get hit badly, theoretically you throw down some action die and survive. and you regain your action die every day. So, you know, it basically lets you survive something you wouldn't normally be able to survive every day. And then even then, if you take a massive damage, you are pretty much guaranteed, even at level 2, to be able to save against the massive damage, like with 2 action die. And then if you're doing heavy action, then you get 2 more action die. And then, you know, if assuming you have a favorite feat, you can gain some more action die. And basically just, and then the GM can just award action die. And then if you have certain feats and abilities, you can generate action die or request action die. And it basically sort of makes it so, I mean, we don't usually give the favored feats to unimportant NPCs. They can take them, but we don't usually just give them to them. Same with feats that let you generate action die. NPCs can take them. NPCs can do anything players can do, but we don't really usually give them those abilities and so forth. So, you know, like, they have a less chance of doing it. And, like, the reason massive damage is important, at least I used to hate it. I used to absolutely despise massive damage in the original way it was done. But I find that, like, it just drops you to penalty, and we have an alternate system in which you can, like, negate it for an additional wound. You basically can be like, I negate it for more wounds and so forth, and yeah. So that's the short of that. Speaking of the drivers taking 2 wounds, unfortunately we are sort of out of time, so I will call it there. I mean, we'll generate the wounds for fun. It's about to get a bit brutal, more than likely. Here we are. So that is 2 wounds. But yeah, I consider on occasion making it a little bit easier to save, but I'm not sure. Not the save, but like number of action die it takes to ignore. Either that or just flat increase the number you get, but not sure. Here we are, found the chart. Head. Organs. Head and organs. Let's see. Left eye. Right lung. Left eye blinded. I think it was left eye right lung. Might be the opposites. Anyway, left eye blinded. Right lung. Finding the lung injury table. Additional moderate wound. Okay, so he's in a shape. He's not dead, but he's practically wishing he was at this point, having taken some number of 20 rounds to the torso. We are out of ammo and have to quick reload, which we will immediately do, by the way. So let's note that down. 40, normal loaded, 1 empty, 9 cells. So, letting out a burst at the car, pretty much a sustained burst at the car, Juliana Aldis fires a bunch of rounds into the gunner, killing them instantly, turns, takes a split second to aim, and lets out 20 more laser rounds into the driver. The lasers burn through the windshield and into the 2 occupants, killing them, killing the first one, blinding the other, and penetrating his lung. The car, at that point, is going to try and come to a stop. He wants to turn around, but can he? That's the question. Here we go. Fail. Can he recover from the stunt? No, not with the penalty. He does take a penalty to actions due to the wounds. So he does not recover. The car is now out of control. At max speed. Not max speed, technically 1 below max speed, but still. Where is it? There it is. How much did he technically fail by? 12 plus 2 for 14. 14 minus 2 for 12 plus 2 for 14 minus 4. So 10 against 15. So he doesn't fail by 10, but he does fail, meaning the vehicle goes into a spin. Current direction, D8 to determine facing. Roll to determine facing, it moves 1 square at chase scale. So luckily he does not ram into us, he goes 1 square, like so. Make sure I'm reading that right. Skids and spins wildly, because we're on chase scale, it's 1 square, and he ends facing plane left. As the driver's hit, he basically he makes a right turn, just spins the steering wheel hard right, and then stops basically 1 square ahead, almost slamming into the building itself. Not that the building would have cared, but slams there. Well, let's actually see whether he slams into the building. Let us roll another save. He needs to roll above 15, and he still has that penalty. He succeeds. He does not slam into building, therefore he does not take more damage. But he is there now. Let's see. Let me check our inventory real fast. Here we go. Unfortunate, should have bought a melee weapon. I'll leave him to our allied gang. Let us award some XP and call it there. Let's find our XP chart. Let's scroll too far, annoyingly. Hate when that happens. Here we go. Okay, so it was like average 2 plus 4 plus. Okay, 11 XP. So at 111, if we get 9 XP, we'll get to level, well, 6. Okay. We will call it there. I'm going to go work on some more Galactic Requiem stuff. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you all for stopping by. Bit of a shorter than some of our recent streams, but hopefully we'll get back to longer streams. See you all next time.